Welcome to the first segment of Expedition Networking. Today on the program, we have Lewis Howes. Lewis is a New York Times bestselling author, and his book is The School of Greatness. He has another book out, The Mask of Masculinity. He is a lifestyle entrepreneur, high-performance business coach, and keynote speaker. He's a former professional football player, two-sport All-American in college. He's a current U.S. men's national handball team athlete. He hosts a podcast, a top 100 iTunes ranked podcast, The School of Greatness, and catch this, which has over 300 million downloads and over 1,000 episodes since he launched it in 2013. Lewis was recognized by the White House and President Obama as one of the top 100 entrepreneurs in the country under 30. And then Details Magazine calls him one of the 5 internet gurus that can make you rich. Lewis is a contributing writer for Entrepreneur and has been featured on Ellen, Good Morning America, The Today Show, The New York Times, People, Forbes, Inc., Fast Company, ESPN, Sports Illustrated, Men's Health, and many other media outlets. And I like to say I knew Lewis before he was Lewis. You were always Lewis. But I call him a friend. I know people throw those terms around loosely. We know each other. We wrote a book together.
My first book was because of you. I wouldn't be an author without you. I still have about 15 copies up on my bookshelf over here too.
Now, do you have the ones where the spine went the wrong way?
I don't have that. Those are like limited edition.
I know. I tell people that story. If you find one of those, hang on to it. I really appreciate you being on the program. Really, you and I met, I think it was 2008 when you were just getting started on LinkedIn. And I wouldn't be on LinkedIn but for you. Mm-hmm. And you taught me a lot with respect to LinkedIn. And then you took off. I mean, it didn't take off out of town, but you've really done some great things. I mean, the litany of things. I really kind of want you to share with people what happened along the way. Obviously, I was around. Chris Hawker was around. Mm-hmm. Some other people, but this just didn't happen. This was relationships.
Well, everything for me. After I was done with my football career, I was only making $250 a week, anyways. It wasn't like this, money making career. It was a passion that I was pursuing, and I was seeing how far I could take it. I took it as far as I could to the Arena League. Got injured. And then I was like, well, I don't have any backup plan because I didn't really study in school. I never thought I was as an intelligent human being in terms of schoolwork based on my grades and my performance in school. So I always thought I didn't understand a lot of concepts that were from the education system. But what I really loved was just being around people and learning from people. And early on, I had one mentor that suggested I get on LinkedIn. And I said, okay, I respect this person. I'm going to do exactly what he says. And I spent about 6 hours a day on LinkedIn for probably a year and a half, just trying to learn it for myself, meet people, connect with people in Columbus. And I remember at that time thinking, like, I need to also overcome a lot of insecurities that I have. I was very secure in my athleticism, but pretty much everything else in life I was insecure about because I never really tackled it. And I remember salsa dancing. I was living in an apartment above a jazz club in Columbus, Ohio called the Columbus Music Hall that's now been sold and it's transformed into some bar, I think. I don't know if you've been there, but I lived above this music hall for $250 a month was my rent. And every week they would play salsa music downstairs in this kind of jazz club and transform it into this salsa club with dancers would come around. And I remember thinking, like, God, I really want to learn this, but I'm terrified. I would go down there every week and watch people dance salsa until finally I started to go all in on this and overcome my fear of salsa dancing. While doing this, I met some interesting people. And one of the men I met, he always looked like he was having a great time. He was always dressed very nice. And I remember asking him, like, what do you do for a living? What's your career? And he said, I'm a professional speaker. I go around the country, I speak, and I get paid to speak. I go, really? I go, that would be amazing, but I'm terrified of speaking. I ended up asking him for some advice. We had Starbucks at the Barnes & Noble at Easton Town Center. And I'll never forget, like he's the one who got me into Toastmasters. And he was like, if you want to overcome your fear, you got to join Toastmasters. From that's how I met you. I was
Yep.
in that first week, I was going around to different Toastmasters in Columbus and seeing what types of clubs were quality and which ones were good. It must have been in that first 2 weeks because I went to like 5 different Toastmasters club within a couple weeks. And I remember one of them being like terrifying because everyone was a professional and everyone was, great speaker and wearing suits. And I was just, bum walking around in a cutoff t-shirt.
Shoot.
I went to one of the toasts and you were speaking, and I was really inspired by your delivery, your ability to connect, just your passion, your creativity as a speaker. And I remember, I think this is how we met, is like I was stealing food in the back of the room,
You weren't
putting it in.
stealing, but
Well, it was free food, but I was like, oh, I'm going to take this. And I was like stuffing it in napkins in my pockets. And I think you came up to me at some point and you're like, what are you doing? And I was like, I don't have any money to get any food. And there's some free bread here. I'm going to take as much as I can. And you were super kind and said, I'll take you out to lunch. And I think we went to a diner right across the street or something.
yeah.
And you were a massive influence in my life during that kind of year and a half being in Columbus, trying to figure out what are my skills going to be? How can I get some opportunities? And you were a great mentor in guiding me in public speaking, but also learning about networking and kind of the professional networking world, which I really didn't know about. But I loved people. I loved connecting with people. I just didn't understand, okay, there's this thing called jobs that people have, and there's this thing called businesses. And in order to grow either one of these, career or business, it's really good to have a network. And at the time, I was using LinkedIn and trying to figure all these out. So you were really instrumental in teaching me how to build relationships in the offline world, where I was learning the online style of networking, from how to build a profile to how to email people the right way to get them interested in opening the email and replying to you and building a relationship. So I was kind of learning both worlds, this digital world of networking and the real world of networking from you, and experimenting with things, going to meetings, hosting networking events. I started hosting LinkedIn networking events and meeting people and all these things. I kind of like this crash course in networking for a year and a half, from hosting events to doing the online to then us working together and working on a book, the LinkedIn networking book, which you can still get on Amazon if people want to buy one. Linked Working, it's still relevant.
Yep.
Um, and all that kind of got me kickstarted. So if it wasn't for being broke on my sister's couch and stealing food in the back of a Toastmasters club, we wouldn't be here right now.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate the accolades, but obviously, um, you rose well beyond that. You thought bigger. You thought
Yeah.
huge, and I was always amazed because I remember when that book came out. You're like, "Hey, we got to get this done. I'm going on this tour. I'm going." You drove to St. Louis.
Yeah, yeah. I was like schlepping books on my
Right.
shoulder, like taking them,
Right.
selling them one by one.
Yeah. But everywhere you went, you drew a crowd.
Hmm.
Tapping into that network. And I remember going up to Cleveland with you, and
Yeah,
I knew people in Cleveland. Uh, and I knew people in Columbus, but you had a hall full of people, and
yeah.
and
The
you
power of
just
networking, the power of networking. And at that time, I didn't know how to leverage the audience. I was like, okay, I'm putting these events on. Originally, they were free. And I was like, how do I make money from networking?
yeah
And I learned a lot from you, from just like, okay, when you bring people together and you create value for people, it doesn't have to be like you get something out of it, but just bringing people together and being the champion of someone's network is a value in that. And that's when I learned that after these events, I was bringing people together and they started finding job opportunities or doing business together. And I was like, wow, okay, they did it because of the event that I hosted. I wonder if I can charge for this. And so I started to learn how to kind of monetize the networking skills through creating a more value with these events, charging them, making more premium, charging for sponsorships. I think even Namspirit was a sponsor or a table at one of the events. I can't remember. And I was like, okay. And I was like, okay, I'm building these relationships with not only the people that come to the events, but the owners of the venues that I'm hosting these at. I wonder if they will pay me a fee from food and bar sales. And I started to work out those deals. And I just started thinking, okay, now I've got a book. Let me sell this book at the event. How many ways can I make money from one networking experience? And that really got me learning about building a business and trying to scale it and figuring out how to add as much value as possible for people. And I think it's what allowed me to then create a kind of a higher level mastermind where I'm bringing together wealthy individuals and helping them scale their business and brand. And all these things along the way have helped me, but it ties back into adding value to human beings and
Yeah.
building those relationship ties, uh, what you called the weak ties in our book, and really cultivating those into stronger ties. And that's been my superpower over the last decade, is building relationships and trying to channel it into something excites me, which I said to myself when I met you, I guess in 2008. I was like, I was interviewing a lot of people in Columbus, Ohio at that time, just trying to learn from successful people like yourself, business owners, leaders in the community. And I was like, man, I wish people could hear these conversations, because I'm gaining so much wisdom from these leaders. And little did I know, 5, 6 years later, I would have launched a show that I would turn into a business where I was just doing the same thing, but on a bigger scale. And it's powerful to know that we can monetize something around this skill set of relationships. And that's what I've done.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing about your podcast and what you have done that I don't know, people who podcast get it. People who've been on podcasts get it. But when you get people on there, you allow them to share their story. And that's a gift to them.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks, okay, it's, Lewis gets this. No, Lewis is giving this,
Mm-hmm.
and I know you've had 1,000 episodes. Kobe's been on there. You allowed Kobe to have a platform that he doesn't get in the media. And
Mm-hmm.
most of these people don't get these things in the media, and you allow them really to be themselves. It's
Yeah.
somewhat unscripted, and that's something that, again, that adds value. That's a huge value to people.
Huge value add. I'll give you an example. I had in the last month, I've had 3 mega billionaires on. Yesterday, I posted an episode with the 11th richest man in the world. He's worth
Yeah.
50 billion. His name's Charles Koch. He's kind of a controversial leader, but he's got the largest privately held company in America, 130,000 employees. I interviewed John Paul DeJoria, who is, I think, worth $3 or $4 billion. He created John Paul Mitchell and Patron tequilas. And then I interviewed Ray Dalio, who I think is worth 20 billion, who's wrote a book called Principles. Two of these interviews haven't come out, but it's interesting because, okay, I'm not only am I creating a platform for them, but all three of them, after the interviewer said, Ray Dalio's got this, I don't know, massive boat where he does exploration in the ocean or something. He's like, you need to come on my ship one day and come and see what we're doing and how we're exploring the ocean. John Paul DeJoria afterwards, he's like, I live in Austin, Texas. The next time you're there, call me. We'll go to lunch. Charles Koch, who lives in Kansas, 11th richest person in the world. He's like, when you're in Kansas, come say hi to me. I want to meet you in person. These were two of them over Zoom. And it's like, okay, I'm creating a platform and I'm able to monetize that through advertising and sponsorship. The show is free, but I'm monetizing that way. I'm able to build my audience and offer value to my audience, the consumer, but I'm also adding value to the person I'm interviewing by creating a platform where they can share their story or promote their book or whatever. And I'm building a relationship with that individual. So there's a multiple win-win-win scenarios when you build a relationship and add value to that individual.
Yeah. That's the key, adding value. And I think that's where people get hung up, is they don't know how to add value
Mm-hmm.
other than maybe giving a discount, which is really just a business transaction.
Right. Doing
Uh,
something for nothing is
yeah.
how I've learned over a decade is the best way to add value, and literally expecting nothing in return. Opening up, sharing all my secrets, giving the exact strategy of something, even if it's someone who's going to be a competitor for me, I'm willing to share everything, how I've done stuff, how we run our business, how to launch something, um, and connect them to the right people. Like, I want to do that, even if it may not be in my favor in the short term, or if it might give someone an edge over me in the short term. I know that it'll always come back around. It may be a year, 5, 10 years, but it'll always come back to me. At least that's the mentality I've had since the beginning, and it's always worked out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I call it believing in karma, right? I believe in karma.
Yeah.
Hey, what can I do for you? What do I owe you? It's like, listen, I believe in karma, and here's what I'm about. If you can try and help me, great. But I believe in karma. I don't keep score, right? We don't,
Yeah.
I know that about you.
Mhm.
So you were a professional athlete, played football. Were there other sports you would have played if you could
I
have?
mean, I play with the I wish I was I mean, I love basketball. I was probably better at basketball, but I just wasn't taller. And
Yeah,
so I had to transition and say, well, how could I take this athleticism to another level? And football was that. I didn't start playing football until I was a sophomore in high school. So I really felt like I was behind on learning it. But I play with the USA men's national handball team currently, and it's still a passion of mine, even though I might be at the tail end of my uh, playing days with them as I'm 37 now, and all the guys are like 23, 24. So it's hard to run a business and be in a relationship and do all these other things while these guys are playing every day in Europe, practicing and stay competitive in something. But that's something I love, and I just love all sports. Yeah.
yeah. If you could meet one person from history, who would you want to meet?
Uh, Muhammad Ali is coming to mind. It just came to my mind because I think I saw a photo of him recently, and I have friends that worked with him, and I just think he would have been fascinating to have a conversation with.
I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah, no, I agree. What do you do in your spare time? I know you work a lot, and I know you have in a relationship.
Yeah. COVID times, I mean, my spare time has just been focused on service and creating my business and adding value to and building my team. But my spare time is really spending time with my girlfriend and my dog. I used to salsa dance a lot, but there's no salsa dancing.
Yeah,
I go I go to movies 3 times a week, but I haven't been in a movie in 8 months.
yeah,
So that's kind of my thing, is to go on hikes and work out when I can. But the things I really enjoy, I'm not able to do right now.
yeah. The world's a little off kilter. It's a little off
Yeah,
kilter. I, I
exactly.
I really appreciate your time, making the time to be on here and being part of this expedition networking I'm kicking off.
Yeah,
I was certainly happy to help you all those years ago, and you've always been very gracious to me. So
of
I
course. I
do appreciate
appreciate
it.
it. I think people who are the main listeners of the show.
A lot of the entrepreneurs, sales rep professionals that are in the Am Spirit world, small
Yeah.
business types. Yeah,
I just feel like finding ways. I'll give a few other networking tips that I really use that I think they're not really strategies, they're just ways of being that I think are just,
please.
they
Yeah,
just work. I am such a believer in FaceTiming people as much as possible and sending video messages. For whatever reason, everyone texts, everyone emails, people call. They do less of it these days, but not many people FaceTime from my experience. Just because it's easier to text or easier to email and it's less um, worrisome, I guess. But when you FaceTime someone, you can truly build a deeper relationship and literally just ask them, what is your biggest challenge that you're facing right now? I ask this to everyone, the billionaires I'm interviewing, to whatever athletes. I just ask them, what is your biggest challenge right now? And I ask them, what is missing in your life? Those two things, you'll learn a lot about what someone needs. And if you can get on a FaceTime, if you're not at face to face right now, and ask these questions and just catch up with people and not ask for anything in return, but ask, what is your biggest challenge and what is missing in your life right now or missing in your business or career right now? And you figure out how to solve that problem as fast as possible. I'm talking, okay, my biggest challenge is I need a sales rep or whatever. It's I need this, I need that. If you literally three-way in someone that you know who is quality in that moment and connect them on a three-way conversation over FaceTime in the moment, that person is going to not only thank you, they're going to be reminded of you every time they don't feel that pain anymore. And that person is supporting them or whatever way that they're working together. This is something I learned from the networking events that I did, that I would ask everyone who came in the door, I would shake their hand and ask them, what do they do and what's their biggest challenge and what are they really excited about? And they would tell me what they do, what they're excited about, what their challenges. And I would just kind of keep a mental note. And as more people came in, when someone could potentially be someone who could solve that problem, I would literally take their hand, walk them over to the person that I met 10, 20 minutes before and say, this is so-and-so, this is so-and-so, these are your skills, connect. I just tried to do that as much as I could. And that ability to connect people to solving their problems benefited them, and then it benefited me in the long term. So get on FaceTime as much as possible. I really like doing video messages to people because no one gets video messages. People get a text every now and then, an email, but send someone just a video message. I know you do a lot of outreaching to people and writing letters to people and things like that, but something about a video message really resonates with people. And I'm not sure that if you have a strategy within the Am Spirit communities on how to organize your relationships and tracking when you've reached out. I'm not sure if you have that type of strategy, but if you do, great. Send people, I would say send 3 videos a day, 30 to 60 seconds to people in that community list that you have, the weak ties, the strong ties, and just stay on top of mind for people. It could be once every 6 months for someone, but just sending a video message, say, hey, I'm thinking about you. I really loved what you did here. I saw this on social media. I saw this in the news. If I can support you with anything, please let me know. If not, no worries, no need to reply. That will do wonders for you. And that's something I've done consistently, organically. It's not a strategy. It's just something I do to stay in touch with people, but it really works well in building those relationships. So that's something I would do.
Awesome bonus tip. I really appreciate it.
There you go.
Thanks for your time. Keep
Appreciate
going.
it, Frank.
Keep doing it. Safe travels.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch.
Thank you.